Roll for Crit is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Come roll with us at patreon.com/rollforcrit. Some new games coming out, some old games not coming out, and more. Stay up to date and stay tuned. It's all here on this Roll for Crit News Roundup.
Metal Gear Solid is a beloved property, as well as a game steeped in controversy, be it from the creator Kojima separating from Konami, as well as the excitement of a new game turning out to be a pachinko machine. This video game has its highs and lows. And now, unfortunately, we're going to bring some more lows in the board game world. A while ago, we learned that there is going to be a board game version based on the first Metal Gear Solid game. I actually got the chance to play a demo of it and had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we have learned that the game has been canceled, both from the creator Emerson and later on from IDW. Now, it seems that, according to IDW, this game was just too much to handle, especially with the cost of shipping and what's going on right now, so they have made the hard decision to cancel it. I don't think anyone's being charged because it's still all pre-orders and stuff, and if you did, you're going to be refunded. Now, from the creator's point of view, he still has the rights to the game design. I'm not so sure about Metal Gear Solid in general, but it sounds like he does, and he's trying to still get this game being made. That would be really nice because, like I said, I got the chance to play it and had a lot of fun with it. I am a fan of the series, and I actually think they did a lot of cool stuff with things with it. And now, I do have a feeling one of the big hurdles he'll have to do, and one of the reasons IDW decided not to, is the miniatures. You know, this is a game that had a lot of big miniatures, including Metal Gear Rex and some exclusives such as the helicopter that you fight as a boss battle and a couple other things. And maybe that was just too expensive. Now, of course, like I said, there were already plenty of things involving Metal Gear when it comes to Konami. So I don't know if that's involved too, if they're like, maybe a cut of the profits or what they do or do not want to have involved in the game. So as far as I know, I've not heard anyone mention them, but it is something that we can't take off the table.
There's a lot to consider here. I mean, this game, you had the chance to play it, a demo of it, over 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And at that time, I remember thinking we already knew the game existed before then too. It was like,
this outside of the miniatures, it didn't feel like I was playing like a really bad prototype or anything.
Yeah,
like obviously the helicopter mini was like, the blades weren't sticking.
It seemed pretty well polished for a demo. It seemed pretty far along in the process. And it also seemed, I'm pretty sure maybe they never had an exact release date, but it always seemed like we were on the cusp of its release.
Yeah.
So it's sort of not surprising that after all this time, it seems like there was something going on behind the scenes that caused this to occur. From what I understand, I'm not sure either if the designer has the rights to Metal Gear Solid. He may have to renegotiate between Konami and a new company.
He definitely has the designs, I think,
right,
like the mechanics.
We might end up seeing that game not called Metal Gear Solid. We might end up seeing it without the license. That maybe is one possibility. By the way, this is the designer same guy who made Spectre Ops, which is a hidden movement stealth game. Like, couldn't imagine a better person to be working on Metal Gear Solid.
It shows. I mean, the way you moved around and had to deal with patrols and stuff is exactly what you think you'd want from a cooperative stealth game. And I really hope we can see it. It does stink that we don't get to see, if we don't get to see it with the Metal Gear licensing, because I really like Metal Gear. So having a little Metal Gear Rex to be able to have around, I'd probably keep it outside the game, just on my desk. That would be pretty cool. But we will see if we're going to be able to see this game with or without Solid Snake.
Great Western Trail is getting a new edition announced by Plan B Games and their line Eggert Spiele. We are going to see a new version of this game released in late summer. They are scheduling it of 2021. That will include entirely new artwork across the board. We have been able to see the box art, which is an entirely redone, and I think most people agree, a much more pleasant, aesthetically pleasing cover compared to the original box, as well as new artwork on the board and cards and everything else, and some touch-ups to the gameplay that they haven't gone over specifically. And then in the next 2 years, in 2022 and 2023, this will eventually be part of a trilogy, as we're going to see an Argentina and New Zealand version of Great Western Trail, which will include similar mechanics but with their own twists on the ideas within. And then at some point we are also going to see a new edition of the expansion for the game, Rails of the North, that they've said will be compatible, so everything will be uniform and can mix together without any problems. Great Western Trail is a deck building game in which you are moving out in the Great West trying to get different cattle and get them across the board and sell them off for a profit, stopping at different buildings along the way to see what people do. And I've heard a lot of buzz about it. Unfortunately, is another one of those games. It's a long list of games that just missed our table and never had the chance to play it. But now I'm kind of feeling like I get to be the smug guy for all the people who are like mad that there's a new edition. I say I waited, so I get to just play the pretty one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that crossed my mind too. I'm like, man, I missed the deck builder, but I get the pretty one. And come on, that New Zealand one looks amazing with the sheep. I mean, heck, is there not a better fit for board game tables than a game about herding sheep?
It is cool. I like that they're expanding the idea of the West to other countries to see what kind of different takes sort of on that culture. And they said too with the art, at least on the box, they were really inspired by Sergio Leone and classic Western movies, and I think you can really see that, and it looks great.
I will say, by the way, that when I first saw the image saying the second Argentina, New Zealand, I thought they were like, in New Zealand, this is your box cover. I'm like, oh man. I mean, I like the regular, but we got to get the New Zealand version. I'm like, oh no, it's just an extension. Oh, okay, that's good.
You can get them all.
Last week, we made a video talking about the end of the Legend of the Five Rings from Fantasy Flight. That means no end, of course, to their what seems to be now their favorite property, Arkham Horror. We have a new expansion for the Arkham Horror 3rd edition titled Arkham Horror Secrets of the Order. In this one, of course, it is a big box, which means new investigators like Agatha Crane, as well as some more boards, monsters, items. But here's what's new. It seems to be a bit more focused on spirits and the dead. Of course, you're going to have to stop the Silver Twilight Lounge again from trying to mess up the world, as well as some other strange things moving on, maybe some Gugs attacking some civilians. There's also a very new interesting keyword for monsters that is shrouded. These are creatures that are hidden in some way. For example, in this, there's going to be a lot of spirits, so you don't know what's going on. And because of that, they won't tell you really any of their abilities or their health, meaning you can't try to kill them from far away beforehand or try to mess with them until you actually engage them. Now, you could still deal damage to them according to the article, meaning that hypothetically, if you have a way to deal damage from long range, you're still going to stack the damage on them. And let's say you were able to deal, 5 damage to them. And when the card flips, it only has 2 health. It dies right away. So this is a really fun thing of maybe trying to gamble with how much, maybe we can kill it before it comes towards us. Or maybe it's something much scarier, hiding behind the veil. So once again, another big expansion, Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. Really fun to try out. I'll see if I can stream this one again and deal with all the new keywords. And of course, we're seeing some recurring investigators come back, which is nice. What do you think, John? I don't think I've played the new one with you. All that's been solo. Oh, God. Yeah. So you haven't even tried that out.
I have not had the chance, to try the other Arkham Horror 3rd Edition expansion. But I did enjoy the game. I definitely saw there was room for more stuff in there. I think the shrouded mechanic sounds cool. It's like you said, it's almost like a push your luck sort of thing. And they said sometimes the shrouded creatures might actually be allies. So you may not want to put too much damage on them because maybe it's something that will actually help you, which I think is a fun, interesting twist as well.
I think what could be a really cool thing sort of moving forward be if there's a scenario where it'd have to come with a whole separate stack of shrouded cards and everything comes in shrouded. Yeah. So you just have no idea what's going on in the battlefield, but that could be really fun. But we'll see when this comes up. Of course, at this point, you can pre-order it now. And when it comes out, I'm sure we'll announce it in the available section. And hopefully, I'll be able to show it off to you.
Last month, game designer Daniele Tascini, known for titles like Teotihuacan, got in some trouble for some remarks he made that were racist, and he gave an apology for them, but it was not perceived as a real heartfelt or meaningful apology by many, including Board and Dice, the company that is publishing most of his titles. Since then, he has come back and made a new apology that is more reflective of what he has said and how he can change going forward, and has in fact pledged to put 15% of the royalties from his next game to an association that helps people of color. So he is actively attempting to make amends and put that through not just with words, but with actions. And alongside that, another board game personality you probably know, Rahdo, from Rahdo Runs Through, had initially defended Tascini and also got in some hot water for what he said, and he came out with a new episode of his podcast, an extended apology really for what he said, and explaining why he realizes now after the fact he was in the wrong, and he's happy to listen to everybody, and here's why he was in the wrong, and he detailed in great depth throughout the video what it means and what was harmful about it and what they're going to do going forward. So I think I wanted to talk about this in the news. Some of it is from a couple of weeks ago, but since we did cover in one of our news episodes the initial incident, I think it's also important to go back and talk about when people who make these mistakes do come forward and then make a meaningful apology and go forward with change in different ways, because I think it's helpful to not just condemn people, but also under the right circumstances, you give them a chance to better themselves. God knows I am not perfect in any way, so I would hope that people would give me that chance if and when I make mistakes of any type of a thing. But just so you know, I think it's nice to be able to say, you can talk to each other, and sometimes people will listen, and you can actually make a difference through that conversation, which I think is important.
Yeah, but once again, it's always to keep in mind that there are people who understand this a lot better because they're, forced to live through all this. So there have been a lot of videos on that. I've already watched some, and I definitely suggest you go and find these, and they'll explain why or why not if you're confused about what should go into an apology, so to speak. And they're going to be able to word it much better than I can right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I would recommend watching Rahdo's video. Honestly, I think that is a masterclass in how to give an apology. It is 50 minutes of him just really heartfelt and being very conscious of his words and actions. I think it's great, and I'm glad to see that, because everybody wants to like Rahdo. He's a nice guy. And it is indeed Black History Month right now, so I'll also take this opportunity to say, if you haven't caught any of it, Board Game Geek has been highlighting a different Black board game creator or designer or content creator of some kind every single day on their homepage. Our Family Plays Games has been doing a whole series of Black History Month videos. There's also a great panel of people put together by Shelf Stories on YouTube that had a lot of discussion about what it's like to be Black in the industry, be a person of color, and everything like that. So a lot of other great resources that now is a great time to check out.
That's the board game news we have for you this week. Some highs, some lows, and curious to hear your thoughts on all of them. Were you a backer of Metal Gear, and are you disappointed? Are you okay with the game being with maybe its own property or another one? Or were you really there because you wanted to play as Solid Snake again? Let us know in those comments.
Yeah, all kinds of interesting stuff. Are you a Great Western Trail fan? Are you going to buy the new edition, or are you just okay with what you got already? We would love to hear from you. Until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And it's been Roll for Crit. We would love it if you liked and subscribed to this channel and supported us on Patreon as well.
If you choose to support us, turn to page 25.